What we're witnessing in our cosmic neighborhood has rapidly evolved from a mere scientific curiosity into a profound enigma, challenging the very bedrock of our understanding. Harvard's esteemed astrophysicist, Avi Loeb, is now openly postulating that this celestial visitor might embody nuclear-powered technology originating from beyond our world. Something genuinely extraordinary is unfolding with 3I Atlas. When our most powerful telescopes initially detected this Voyager materializing from the infinite blackness of deep space, the preliminary assessment seemed quite straightforward. Scientists classified it as only humanity's third confirmed interstellar comet. An exciting discovery, undoubtedly, but seemingly nothing that would necessitate a complete rewrite of our astronomical textbooks. Yet, as a continuous deluge of fresh data streams in from observatories across the globe, that seemingly simple narrative has begun to unravel in deeply unsettling ways. Some researchers are now prepared to publicly articulate what was once relegated to hushed private discussions. This could very well be an alien spacecraft. It is, undeniably, a possibility we are compelled to seriously consider. Loeb himself has even devised a classification framework to systematically evaluate such claims, where a score of 0 signifies definitively natural objects and a 10 indicates technological artifacts, potentially posing a threat to humanity's future. What renders this situation so utterly extraordinary is the perplexing behavior of 3I Atlas. This object is expanding to absolutely colossal proportions. Its surrounding envelope of gas, which astronomers refer to as the coma, is growing at rates so entirely unprecedented that current projections suggest it could evolve into one of the largest structures currently residing within our solar system. It is systematically violating every established rule defining how comets are expected to behave. And scientists across a multitude of disciplines find themselves in genuine states of bewilderment, desperately striving to determine precisely what this object is and what its presence here fundamentally signifies. Many observers during those initial discovery weeks overlooked just how statistically improbable its trajectory appeared. Unlike every natural body orbiting within our solar system's intricate gravitational architecture, 3I Atlas follows a hyperbolic path, a sharp, open-ended curve, mathematically proving it originated somewhere else entirely from the unimaginable depths separating stellar systems. Astronomers meticulously performed the calculations, and here's the reality that nobody emphasizes enough. The probability of detecting an object that has journeyed for millions, potentially billions, of years from another star system approximates finding one specific grain of sand scattered across every beach covering Earth's entire surface. Initial size estimates suggested something rather modest, perhaps only several miles across. Scientifically exciting, absolutely. But researchers cataloged it as merely another interesting data point, humanity's third confirmed interstellar discovery. But not everything reveals its true nature immediately. As Earth's most sophisticated observatories systematically focused their attention on 3I Atlas, the incoming data began exhibiting genuinely bizarre characteristics. Its luminosity fluctuated unpredictably, flaring dramatically before dimming again without any apparent cause. It streaked through space at velocities exceeding 100,000 miles per hour, along a trajectory designed to whip around our sun before ejecting it permanently back into the cosmic void. Scientists anticipated what should have been straightforward observations of frozen material gradually warming as it approached solar radiation. They believed they understood the fundamental playbook. An icy celestial body approaches solar heat, frozen volatiles transform into gas, and nature produces a beautiful, entirely predictable, luminous tail streaming behind it. To describe what happened next as merely unexpected would be a profound understatement. 3I Atlas was about to demonstrate it had absolutely no intention of following any established rulebook. The incoming data was preparing to reveal something that would shake our assumptions to their core. As 3I Atlas continued its relentless journey deeper into our solar system's inner regions, something extraordinary began occurring that made astronomers worldwide literally stop what they were doing and stare at their monitoring screens in complete disbelief. The object was brightening, not through some subtle, gradual process we typically observe, but dramatically, shockingly, impossibly fast. In astronomy, brightness functions as a direct measurement of both physical size and internal activity levels. When cometary material heats sufficiently, frozen ices and embedded dust particles get violently ejected from the surface, creating an enormous surrounding cloud astronomers call a coma. This gaseous envelope captures incoming sunlight, transforming comets into those glowing apparitions that have mesmerized humanity throughout recorded history. Typically, this represents a slow, methodical process unfolding over weeks or months. But with 3I Atlas, we were witnessing something that resembled an explosion captured in slow motion. Within mere weeks, its surrounding coma began expanding at exponential rates that defied every model in our databases. The measurements coming through were so extraordinarily extreme that, initially, research teams genuinely suspected their expensive equipment had malfunctioned catastrophically. What observational estimates had originally classified as perhaps a modest, city-sized nucleus was now enveloped by a cloud of gas and particulate matter growing to proportions that seemed physically impossible. How enormous are we talking? The first jaw-dropping measurement registered the coma at over 400,000 miles in diameter. Think about that scale for just a moment. That's more than half the physical diameter of our own Sunday. To provide perspective that makes this tangible, you could theoretically fit the planet Jupiter, our solar system's undisputed giant, completely inside this object's glowing atmospheric envelope with substantial room remaining to spare. This wasn't behaving like any comet we'd ever documented. It had transformed into something resembling a cosmic monster. Many people follow astronomical discoveries casually, perhaps checking headlines occasionally, but this situation was fundamentally different from typical celestial events. This wasn't merely providing a visually attractive light show for amateur stargazers. We were witnessing a raw display of physical power operating on scales that human comprehension struggles to fully grasp. The sheer volume of material being continuously ejected from 3I Atlas's hidden nucleus was absolutely staggering. It was shedding mass at rates measuring thousands of times greater than any typical comet originating from within our own solar system's familiar boundaries. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope was immediately repositioned to capture higher resolution imagery, and the photographs it transmitted back to Earth only intensified the mystery surrounding this visitor. The coma wasn't presenting as some uniform, peaceful, gaseous sphere. Instead, it revealed itself as a violently chaotic, turbulent maelstrom of gas and dust with powerful jets and dramatic plumes erupting from a nucleus that remained frustratingly concealed within the overwhelming glare. The reality nobody emphasizes enough is this fundamental fact. For any comet to generate a surrounding coma reaching these impossible dimensions, it must contain extraordinarily rich concentrations of volatile ices that instantly sublimate into gas at even the gentlest touch of distant sunlight. Yet, even the most volatile ice-saturated comets documented throughout our solar system's history don't exhibit behavior remotely approaching what we were witnessing. 3I Atlas was performing as though its composition consisted of something fundamentally different, something possessing far more explosive characteristics than anything in our astronomical database. The shocking rate of its coma expansion meant those initial nucleus calculations had become completely worthless overnight. The actual dimensions of that solid core hidden beneath the gaseous maelstrom could realistically measure 10, perhaps even 20 times larger than preliminary estimates suggested. It would require absolutely massive reserves of material to sustain this level of continuous ejection. The global scientific community found itself in genuine states of shock as each successive measurement made this visitor appear progressively less like a natural celestial object and increasingly more like some kind of cosmic anomaly operating outside known physical parameters. But this impossible expansion represented merely the opening act of 3 I-Atlas's strange performance. Imagine this. With 3 I-Atlases surrounding coma bloating to such absolutely colossal proportions, astronomers worldwide reached unanimous agreement on one inevitable prediction. This object was preparing to tear itself apart catastrophically. You need to understand something fundamental about cometary physics. This variety of explosive outgassing activity typically functions as an absolute death sentence for these fragile structures. Consider what happened in 2020 with another comet that coincidentally shared the Atlas designation. It brightened spectacularly across several weeks, generating tremendous excitement as observers anticipated what promised to become the celestial spectacle of that entire decade. But as it approached closer to solar heating, the intensifying outgassing behaved precisely like a continuous series of internal explosions, literally tearing the nucleus apart from within its own structure. It disintegrated into nothing more than an expanding cloud of fine dust particles and tiny pebbles, a profoundly disappointing conclusion to what had seemed so promising initially. Every single observer fully expected 3 I-Atlas to suffer this identical fate. Telescopes across every continent watched attentively and waited for the statistically inevitable structural collapse. The computational models presented absolutely clear predictions. Any object venting material at these violent rates, expelling mass this explosively, should remain fundamentally unstable structurally. Imagine watching a mountain attempting to maintain its integrity during a continuous earthquake, measuring planetary scales of violence. The internal pressure accumulating from those rapidly vaporizing ices should have generated sufficient force to fragment it into millions of separate pieces. Days stretched into weeks while the astronomical community collectively held its breath in anticipation. Every newly captured image underwent intensive scrutiny, searching for those unmistakable signatures of fragmentation, beginning multiple distinct bright points appearing where previously only a single nucleus existed. But that predicted breakup never materialized. To the absolute astonishment of every professional and amateur observer monitoring this drama, 3 I-Atlas maintained its structural integrity completely. It successfully endured that violent, self-inflicted atmospheric storm and continued progressing along its calculated trajectory, its monstrous surrounding coma remaining entirely intact throughout the ordeal. What so many observers failed to fully appreciate was the profound implication embedded within this survival against all odds. It demonstrated conclusively that the nucleus concealed at the heart of this turbulent storm couldn't possibly be some loosely consolidated pile of frozen ices and gravitationally bound rubble, which describes the structural composition of virtually every comet we've ever studied in detail. The internal structure had to be extraordinarily dense, remarkably solid, and architecturally sound in ways that defied conventional comet physics. It was successfully withstanding destructive forces that should have reduced it to nothing more than dispersed cosmic dust particles. This visitor possessed structural toughness we'd never witnessed before. The central question had fundamentally transformed from when will it inevitably fragment to what in the observable universe could it possibly be constructed from. NASA turned to the James Webb Space Telescope, tasking it with finding definitive answers. By meticulously analyzing light wavelengths passing through that enormous surrounding coma, Webb's sophisticated instruments could detect the precise chemical fingerprints of materials being violently ejected from the hidden nucleus. The spectroscopic results sent yet another profound shockwave rippling through the global astronomical community. While 3I Atlas indeed contained abundant frozen carbon dioxide, which partially explained the explosive outgassing activity we were witnessing, it demonstrated surprisingly minimal concentrations of water ice, the fundamental primary ingredient comprising virtually every comet we had ever studied in detail. Instead, Webb spectrographs revealed unusual signatures indicating complex organic compounds and concentrations of heavy elemental materials that simply weren't supposed to exist in these proportions. This object wasn't behaving like some simple dirty snowball tumbling through space. It functioned more like an intricate chemical factory, and concealed at its core existed something possessing sufficient structural integrity to hold this entire volatile system together against statistically impossible odds. Then, 3I Atlas executed a maneuver that appeared to openly defy established physical laws governing how celestial bodies behave. Comets represent fundamentally simple objects operating on predictable principles. Solar radiation heats the sunward-facing hemisphere, frozen volatiles sublimate into gas and dust, and solar wind pressure pushes that ejected material directly away from the sun's position, creating those iconic luminous tails. It represents an ironclad rule as ancient as systematic astronomy itself. The tail invariably points away from solar radiation always, without exception. That's precisely why, when the first crystal clear extended exposure photographs of 3I Atlas arrived back from Hubble Space Telescope's imaging systems, scientists worldwide fell into stunned silence. The visual evidence proved absolutely undeniable. While a faint, chaotically dispersed tail extended rearward away from the sun, exactly as conventional physics predicted, something else appeared in those images, something that shouldn't physically exist. A narrow, tightly focused beam of coherent light projected forward from the object's leading edge, pointing directly along its trajectory of travel through space. This wasn't any conventional cometary tail structure. It resembled a headlight illuminating the darkness ahead. What nobody emphasizes enough about electromagnetic radiation propagating through the vacuum of space is that it behaves according to rigorously predictable physical principles. A focused, directional beam exhibiting these characteristics simply shouldn't occur through natural processes. This wasn't merely some random jet of outgassing material caught at a peculiar angle. The light displayed coherence, almost resembling a concentrated searchlight beam cutting deliberately through cosmic darkness. It represented a visual feature so profoundly unnatural that initial observational reports faced immediate dismissal as instrumental errors or digital processing artifacts. But as additional observatories across multiple continents independently confirmed the finding through their own imaging systems, a genuinely chilling realization began crystallizing in researchers' minds. This phenomenon was absolutely real. This represents the precise moment where our narrative transitions from a fascinating scientific mystery into something far more philosophically profound, something that forces us to confront possibilities we've always relegated to speculation rather than serious scientific consideration. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, who famously proposed that Oumuamua might represent extraterrestrial probe technology, emerged as among the first prominent scientists willing to publicly address these shocking Hubble images directly. He articulated what many were thinking but hesitating to state openly: no currently understood natural phenomenon in our astronomical databases could possibly explain a tightly focused, forward-projecting beam of coherent light emanating from what superficially resembles a cometary object. The energy requirements necessary to generate such a directed beam, coupled with whatever focusing mechanism maintains its coherence, exceeded anything documented occurring through natural processes in the observed cosmic environment. Lowe proposed a hypothesis that challenges fundamental assumptions. What if 3I Atlas isn't actually a comet at all? What if we're observing a fragment of genuinely advanced technology traversing through our solar neighborhood? Suddenly, speculative theories began proliferating throughout scientific and public discourse. Could this represent a navigation beacon employed by some automated reconnaissance probe, systematically charting optimal routes through multiple stellar systems? Or perhaps we're witnessing a communication laser transmitting encoded data signals back toward its distant point of origin across interstellar distances. Some researchers even speculated it might constitute a novel propulsion system, perhaps a light sail engine operating on principles we can barely conceptualize, utilizing the focus beam to execute microscopic trajectory adjustments with incredible precision. The object's peculiar trajectory, which already exhibited small, unexplained deviations from purely gravitational predictions, suddenly appeared far less consistent with inert debris being randomly pushed by asymmetric outgassing jets. It increasingly resembled something executing deliberate navigational maneuvers with specific purpose. The implications were absolutely staggering. Yet that visual evidence captured by multiple independent observatories proved extraordinarily difficult to simply dismiss or explain away conventionally. A comet equipped with forward-projecting headlights ceases being a comet in any traditional definition. It transforms into something categorically different, something that demands we fundamentally reconsider our assumptions about what traverses the spaces between stars. The genuinely remarkable aspect wasn't merely the beam's existence, but its sustained stability throughout observation periods. It didn't flicker erratically or undergo random variations. It maintained itself as a constant, unwavering stream of focused illumination, pointing steadily forward along its trajectory. As if 3I Atlas's already bizarre narrative wasn't sufficiently packed with shocking revelations and reality-challenging discoveries, its approaching grand finale promises to become the most mysterious performance yet. This cosmic enigma, an object that has systematically defied every conventional scientific explanation we've attempted applying to it, now races toward its ultimate moment of revelation. It approaches perihelion, that critical closest point to our sun, where solar radiation intensity and gravitational stresses reach their absolute maximum. Imagine this as a cosmic trial by fire, nature's ultimate stress test, occurring at the moment of maximum drama, where any conventional object would either demonstrate survival, resilience, catastrophically disintegrate into dispersed dust clouds, or finally reveal whatever true nature it's been concealing. This represents the precise moment when every telescope positioned on Earth's surface and every orbital observation satellite should maintain laser-focused attention, meticulously capturing every possible detail of what unfolds during these critical hours. But here's the twist that almost feels deliberately scripted by cosmic forces themselves. We won't observe a single moment of it. You heard that correctly. In what represents either monumentally unfortunate astronomical timing or perhaps perfectly strategic positioning, 3I Atlas will execute its closest, most critical solar passage while positioned on the completely opposite side of our star from Earth's location. For several agonizingly extended weeks, it will remain totally lost within the sun's overwhelming luminous glare, a period astronomers technically designate as superior conjunction. Think carefully about the profound implications here. This visitor will enter that cosmic blind spot as a massive continuously expanding anomaly, exhibiting properties that violate conventional physics, an object that was projecting that bizarre, forward-facing, coherent light beam we discussed. And when it finally reemerges on the opposite side of our sun, we will possess absolutely zero concrete knowledge regarding what it has transformed into during those hidden weeks. This period of enforced observational blindness represents the ultimate cliffhanger in astronomical history, a cosmic question mark suspended over humanity's collective consciousness. What will this enigmatic object do when it operates with certainty that no human instruments are monitoring its behavior? For the global scientific community, this represents a moment of supreme frustration beyond description. Decades of accumulated research expertise and billions of invested dollars in sophisticated observational technology rendered completely useless aim blindly at a stellar body that jealously guards this particular secret. But for those researchers who suspect 3I Atlas represents far more than merely another rogue interstellar comet, it constitutes a moment of supreme and genuinely chilling suspicion. What so many observers have failed to fully appreciate is this crucial fact. A close stellar passage isn't solely a survival challenge. It simultaneously represents an extraordinary opportunity. It creates the ideal moment for any hypothetically advanced spacecraft to execute a gravity assist maneuver, exploiting our sun's immense gravitational field as a cosmic slingshot capable of fundamentally altering both velocity and directional trajectory without expending massive fuel reserves. A technologically sophisticated probe could strategically utilize solar gravity to pivot dramatically, to brake against its incredible interstellar velocity, or even to shift trajectory sufficiently to establish stable orbital resonance within our solar system's boundaries. The undeniable fact that this potentially game-changing navigational maneuver would occur precisely while the object remains completely and utterly concealed from all terrestrial and orbital observation represents, to articulate it conservatively, an absolutely remarkable coincidence. The timing seems almost too perfectly orchestrated, so we must confront the ultimate question. Is 3I Atlas a natural cosmic wonder exhibiting exotic but ultimately explainable physics? Or does it represent something far more profound, perhaps a deliberate message traversing the void between civilizations? What do you believe will emerge from behind the sun's blinding glare when observational windows reopen? Share your theories in the comments below and make sure to subscribe so you're here when we finally discover what 3I Atlas has become during those hidden weeks behind our star.